All right, guys, we're at the 1 o'clock hour. Good afternoon. You all, so I hear recording in progress. So I guess that we're online. Yes. Welcome to all of you in the audience here and online. This is the May 11th, 2023 Platted Reservation Water Management Board meeting. So we, as always, like to start with an opening prayer. So volunteer for an opening prayer, please.
Do it this time.
All right, Georgia, thank you.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we just want to thank you for this beautiful day that we have been blessed with, for the safe travel for each one who was able to attend in person. And Lord, we just want to lift up those who are working on the road and having to travel it, that you give them traveling mercies. And we ask for wisdom as we go through this agenda today, that we make the best decisions we can. In your name we pray.
Amen. Georgia.
Thank you.
Okay, attendance, please.
Hempton,
Here.
Teresa Wall McDonald,
Here.
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 Here. Okay, we have a quorum, so we can move forward. The next item, just to announce, our meeting minutes are on DNRC and CSKT websites. So if you've missed any of our meetings, you can go back and see those on those websites. So the next item is to adopt the agenda and disclose any potential conflicts of interest. So Ethan, just for future reference, let's make, if it's all right with the board, potential conflicts of interest 1.4 and then go 1.5, adopt the agenda, just so I don't miss it. That's nothing major. Just so, are there, board members, any potential conflicts of interest for you? So Roger, Georgia, Teresa?
No.
Ken? Nope. For me, the only at this time potential is we're going to be bringing up, I think Ethan has on the agenda a couple of bids. And we don't need to address those bids right now, but just for your information, when we get to them, if you want me to abstain from voting, I'd be glad to do that. I'm friends with one, and another one has done work for me personally. So we get to that. If you choose, I'd be glad to abstain from those. The only potential conflict of interest for me. So aside from that, then to adopt the agenda, we'll take a motion if you're ready to adopt the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to suggest a couple of changes to your agenda if you're allowed.
Okay, Ethan.
Under board business today, the board is willing, you could approve the copy you have in the materials, the final agenda from 5/9, so we can have that done and posted. And I would also like to discuss the payoff of the board's loan made early on its formation for computers and other equipment, and see if there's board direction on that. I would also like to strike item 6 from the agenda, which matches what we did days ago. We would have some point some discussion on domestic allowances, developments portion of the board having something to roll out.
Okay, so when you say adopt 5/9 agenda, you actually mean minutes,
Yes.
correct?
Well,
No, they're in the packet, but
Mr. Chairman, board members, as you might recall, we shifted our format for minutes, and we went to putting notes of decisions made on the agenda specifically, and then time stamping the videos and providing a transcript for the videos, which is in line with what some other agencies are doing. And we got the A-OK from legal counsel. And you also seem to enjoy that switch. So if you'd like us to call them minutes, we can, but it really is more of an agenda with notes taken about what you're.
Yeah, I think agenda, I mean, my opinion, agenda / minutes, because as we're doing today, we approve this agenda. Following up will be your either notes or minutes. So I understood. So let's go with that. So board members, do you want to add that to approving those agenda minutes 5/9 to this agenda? Yes. Yes. Okay. And then you wanted to be able to bring up discussion of the payoff of a loan, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Under item 3, you can add that in there.
Okay. Do you want to add that today, board members? Yes. Okay. And then your recommendation to scratch item number 6. Board members okay with that? All right. So you got those. Anything else, Ethan?
Mr. Chairman, board members, thank you for that. That's all I have for.
Board members, any other changes to the agenda?
No.
Okay, we'll take a motion to approve this agenda then with changes.
Move the adopt agenda with these changes.
Motion by Ken, second by Teresa, all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, approved. All right. Thank you. Item 2, public comment for items not on the agenda. So whatever comments, anybody in the audience here today or online?
If you would like to make a public comment on Zoom, just raise your hand and I can allow you to talk.
All right. No public comment at this time. We'll move on. Close that section. Board business. So looks like we've shifted the board updates to the front of the agenda, which is fine with me. If it's okay with the board members in the future, we can continue that. Any board member updates?
No.
Okay. Board bank account signatories, water engineer. Ethan.
Chairman, board members. In follow through of your bylaws and fiscal policy regarding the signatories on your bank account, it does in fact specify that the signatories will be the chair and the vice chair, that you have a certain amount of delegated signatory responsibility to the water engineer. I do have papers for you that you could, if you were to choose to take this action today, you can sign. Not really sure it has to be an additional action because the bylaws do specify that this is what you were going to do. But I, out of an abundance of caution, wanted to bring it up here.
Okay. So being aware that we had taken that action, we're going through the process of signing papers. I guess I thought we already signed papers, so we haven't signed them yet.
Mr. Chairman, board members, you signed the papers to add me to the account. This particular set of paperwork would remove the 3 board members that are not in the official board positions of chair or vice chair. So what this paperwork does is it reduces the account signatories to 3. The chair, vice chair. You know, the head, Roger is acknowledged, the vote from the other day is acknowledged in this paperwork. And so, does that help, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, so question to the board. Do you want to take action on that today or just move forward? Roger.
Well, I thought about this a little bit, and I guess bylaws state that the chair and the vice chair are the signatories, but that doesn't mean that we can't have all 5 board members be listed on the account, which is what the existing situation is. And I guess I kind of like that because if I were to keel off or you were to keel off, then, you know, we would have another board member and we wouldn't have to go into Glacier Bank and sign stuff and everything. It's all taken care of and ready to go. And, you know, it's explicit in the bylaws, who can sign it, who can't sign it, but then the signatories are available should some need arise.
Okay,
Fine, that's good.
other thoughts with board members?
I just assume not be on the count, but Roger makes good sense.
So Ethan, the suggestion is, as you heard, to keep everybody on the account, but just keep the signatories down to the chair, vice chair, and yourself, limited as you described.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I would probably need to confer with Glacier Bank, who did request our bylaws. They wanted to know who was specified in our bylaws as authorities on the account. The reason we're all five on the account previously was because we did not have bylaws, and that was a requirement of Glacier Bank. The word signatory, as far as the bank is concerned, means anybody who could sign to withdraw or transfer money out of the account. And I'm happy to do whatever we may end up needing to modify the bylaws. I gotta check with the bank, I'm not quite the banking expert beyond
Yeah,
this.
Yeah.
They did request our bylaws once they knew that they were there, because they like to keep record. Also wanted a copy of the resolution.
okay,
On, I think this is the fiscal resolution. Yep.
okay. So Roger, would you like Ethan to explore that option then still?
But the board thinks it's worth.
That's your proposal. So the board members, you want to, do we have at least a consensus to explore that option? Okay, let's explore that option with the bank. And then let's say the bank is wanting to stick with just the signatories. Are you okay with them Ethan just moving forward?
Yes.
Okay, so you have a consensus to check with the bank, and if they're willing to do as was suggested, let's move that direction. If not, then you're okay to move forward with just those signatures. Do you want to take that action today, or just allow Ethan to move forward? If you want to take action, I'm going to take public comment first.
I'd like to take action.
Excuse me?
I'd like to take public action.
Okay, so let's move to public comment. So we're getting ready to take action on the suggestion to have all members of the board on the account and signatory authority to chair, vice chair, and to Ethan. And Ethan will check with the bank to determine if that's allowable. If not, then we'll move forward with the existing signature authorities. So it's a long way of saying what a motion might be. So public comment on that. Anybody in the audience here or online, please?
If you would like to make online public comment, please raise your hand and I can make it possible for you to speak. See no public comment.
All right, going once. Going twice. Nobody? All right, no public comment. Moving on to the board action. So does somebody want to make a motion?
I guess my motion would be to have Ethan contact the bank, see if it's viable to have the 5 board members remain as signatories on the account. But as the bylaws say, it's only the chair and vice chair that can sign. So and then if the bank decides that advises that it's not, we can't do that, then we'll remove the other 3 members.
questions. So my question is, you said signatories, you meant just to be on the account,
Just to be.
names on the account with the 3 signatures. Okay, so,
Just to be on.
so that's,
listed on.
so that's your motion. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Second by Teresa. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Unopposed. All right, Ethan, thank you. Did you have another comment?
I do. I'm just trying to think through this. I had kind of taken action based on your last direction, at the last meeting. I would like to probably have a break to go call the bank now and ensure they haven't taken everybody off the account and are awaiting this. Otherwise, we may have no access to the account. So, perhaps that makes sense as, I need you around to sign these documents sooner than next Thursday if there's
So Ethan, I understand you're requesting a 5-minute break or a few-minute break to make a quick phone call. So, board all right with that? All right, go ahead. Take 5. Take 5.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so we took a few-minute break there for Ethan to check with the bank on this, and I think we've already taken the action, so either it works or it doesn't, and we can move forward. So Ethan, where are we at?
let's just move forward and if it works out.
And you were able to contact them or no?
I was able to contact them, apparently upon requesting the forms that we would need to sign, which is, what the board landed on at a previous meeting. They decided to go ahead and remove those folks from the account at that time. So I did not know that asking for the paperwork would instigate the change, but that did happen.
Okay.
The bank did want me to make clear that they don't have, signatories on the account that, like if you're on the account, you can.
Either on the account or you're not, and
Yeah.
anybody on the account can sign.
We do have the option of adding an online access to the banking records. That's done through an online interface that can be given to anybody that does not. That option would not allow signatory authority, but it does allow access to view the account records.
At this point, we've taken what action we did. You checked, and so I'm assuming before we leave for the end of the day, you still need some paper to sign then?
Mr. Chairman, board members, I need maybe to double check what action have been taken in your bank account.
Well, the action we just took was, if possible, to have everyone on the account with just the 3 signatories, chair, vice chair, and yourself. If that wasn't possible, that we would just go forward with the 3 signatories.
Mr. Chairman, I understood that you wanted me to proceed with finding it out, and so then you also want me to proceed with having everybody on the account.
If it's not possible.
If it's possible.
It is possible. So you want everybody on the account.
That was your intention, right?
Yeah.
That was the intention of the motion. That was the intention of the action.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. We're going on to item number 4 then. The WRIS Enhancement Charter from DNRC. Water engineer and possibly DNRC to discuss this today. So I think this is an important one, so Ethan.
Mr. Chairman, board members, DNRC had offered an updated charter that included some new items. I noticed mine this year. Know who all's online. DNRC does want to talk about the updates that they've made. I would urge the board to consider giving them the floor.
Okay, I would, for the board's discussion, this charter, I think we need to make sure that the board hears from DNRC and from Ethan so that we can all be on the same page about where we're at with this. So Ethan, if you prefer DNRC to jump in here first, then that would be helpful.
Speak to the updates in charter.
Are you just hand up?
Okay. So Arnie is online and prepared to provide a quick update. Welcome, Arnie.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Arnie Wick here with the NRC. I do acknowledge and have seen and helped Payla with the revised charter that I think we shared with Ethan earlier this week. Not a lot of significant changes. I would like to clarify that we view that charter as an MOU type of agreement, not like a binding contract. But I think you'll see it, as you've heard before from us in our presentations and attempts to clarify that we view it as a important clarification to the staffing commitment for the process that we're, hopefully about to embark on with the discovery and the development for the required database enhancements. I don't want to get into too much detail with that. I know between Payla and I have talked with Ethan and others about that quite a bit over the last few weeks. So I was interested to hear Ethan's comments on it. I can also mention, as I've talked with Ethan, Roger and you, Chairman, the DNRC has been exploring a staffing solution where an employee experienced in the water right information system and experience with database development would be potentially assigned to the office of the engineer in a part-time capacity to primarily help with the database discovery and the development process, which I realize is new and foreign to a lot of us. And so that is not quite finalized, but it has full department support. And so I anticipate, and I think thinking about this in like a 2-week timeline, I've heard that sounds like people are interested and ready to start the effort. And I feel like Respect could work to facilitate some initial meetings in the coming weeks, probably 2 weeks out. That could fit nicely with the time we need to finalize our paperwork for this staffing arrangement. And also give the board and the engineer time to hear this offer, realize there's more help on the staffing front, and work to finalize the charter. I don't think work would need to be held up, but we do feel the charter is essential just to make sure eyes are wide open and everybody's on the same page as far as the effort and commitment from the Office of Engineers staff, DNRC staff, the tribal team who's also committed as we move forward. I know there's been a lot of detail out there in previous presentations, so with that, I will stop and pause, but just wanted to provide those overviews.
Thank you, Arnie. Before we jump back to Ethan, so board members, comments, questions. I think you heard that the DNRC views the charter as an MOU, views it as essential. There are ongoing discussions for a possible staffing solution to help with this, which sounds positive. It sounds like DNRC is interested in moving that forward, but it's going to take a couple weeks. So, Roger, anything?
I guess I just would reiterate the importance of getting going on this. It sounds like both staff-wise and functionality. I spoke with Kathy Olson, and she's going to participate, I understand, as a DNRC member. And she has a lot of experience as a regional office manager, and now I think she's the head of all of the regional offices. So she was involved with some of when DNRC was working on the database for themselves. So she has a real hands-on approach to this, and will be great for helping develop some of those stories. But she's going to have limited time in the future because House Bill 114 got passed, which has told DNRC they need to accelerate their review process for water rights. So at some point, they're gonna have to get geared up on that, but she's got a window now, so let's take advantage of it.
Okay, very good. Georgia?
I would agree with Roger. We need to get this moving.
Obvious, speak up just a little.
Oh, okay. I would just agree with what Roger just said. This is something really important to move this process forward, so.
Okay, all right, Teresa.
My only comment, the part-time staffing solution, that sounds like a very positive development. That's cool. Viewing the charter as an MOU, that's an interesting comment to me. But is there anything that would be left out or subject to future interpretation if I'm used to an MOU having very clear, definitive partnership roles and responsibilities and deadlines, and I just don't know. I'm wondering if we're addressing everything.
Okay. Well, at some point, I'm gonna ask they're asking basically the board to take action on this MOU and then sign it. If we're trying to kick this off maybe within a couple of weeks, I heard Arnie say we don't want to hold up the progress with until this is done, but
Okay,
I also think that in this process, Ethan has got our engineer's got some input on that, so
oh, good.
Ethan will get to you in just a second here, so is that
Sure,
okay?
absolutely.
Process wise,
Yes.
Ken, is there anything from you? Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at. Ethan, you want to jump in on this?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, board members, I have got kind of the last late in the game draft that I will distribute to you here in a second that I'd like to get your feedback on. And what it does is it does envision some tweaking to the charter and tries to move things from hourly commitments to tangibles. Like what is it that our office ultimately needs to provide for this project to work? It does offer that breaking things into two phases is a tremendous win. And the updates to the charter do envision that, but I wanted to make it clear that it's important in here as well. I do mention in here that an essential part of that agreement would be getting this DNRC person to provide some project liaison between our office, who has never really seen the WRIS system, and the DNRC's contractors. This draft is basically something that it's not quite ready to go beyond getting feedback from the board members, in my opinion. So what I'd like to do, share this draft with you, get your input. I'll give it to you electronically as well.
Let me hit pause there.
Yeah.
So once it's in the hands of the board can choose to share it or not share it. So let me make sure you're clear on that. So we'll get it, take a look at it, and your recommendation at this point I'm hearing is that for now, this is between the board and the engineer.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just trying not to get out ahead of the board on my suggestion.
Okay,
So
board,
and
you've
we
heard
do
the
have-
recommendations of your engineer. Do you want the copy of his comments at this point? Because once we get them, it's potentially public anyway.
Oh, they're public in my hand right here. If somebody asked for them.
Yeah, so board, you want the copy? Okay, hand them out, please.
There's nothing secret in these.
Thank you.
Other than the fact that you might want to redirect some of it. I didn't want to confuse things and offer it over, until you had a chance.
No, understood, and I appreciate that, and I think that, given that, I would like the board to have the opportunity to visit visit about the draft enhancements and your draft document here. So we can take a few minutes and try to have some discussion today. Or we can move this forward to the next agenda and we can talk about it in more detail. I see everybody's kind of looking through it, so let's give everybody a few minutes, Ethan. So would the board like to hit pause here? By default, looks like we've hit pause, and so they're going to read. So board members can open this up for discussion now?
Yes.
Okay.
Arnie,
Arnie, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to squeeze this in because it kind of relates. I've got a tentative budget update, just as the results from the legislative session, so just wanted to be quick here. House Bill 2 was a significant additional funding ask that'll provide significant more operating funding for the Office of the Engineer. This can be used, with the board and the office's discretion. The annual budget there, this would provide $633,000 for the state's share, which is equally shared between the state and the tribe. So that would put the next annual budget just over 1.3 million. That's pending signature by the governor, but did want to provide that update. It appears like it survived the legislative session. So I wanted to just offer that. And then related to the database, the House Bill 2 effort, which was the Flathead Database Enhancement Bill. This passed. It initially was introduced at 700,000, and all the bills under that capital IT package were reduced by some percentage. It ultimately came through at 656,000. I will email you this in a summary so you have these numbers here. I just wanted to present it while everyone was here. And just a reminder on that number, the initial discovery process is what will inform the scope, time, and cost. And so that's what the initial start on this database project will be. So that the cost will be determined through that, and then that'll be between me and Melissa will determine how and when to take credit and, make sure that the board's budget is fulfilled so they have you have appropriate operating money. But did want to let you know, it looks like it was a successful session, and I'll get you this in writing here shortly, but wanted to just quickly offer that update.
Thank you, Arnie. Okay, board members.
Well,
Teresa.
I apologize for not knowing this. Are these appropriations one time or reoccurring, or are they termed or defined?
Arnie.
These financial contributions.
Chairman, Teresa, there is some of both, but the significant majority is recurring. I think we had some vehicles as one time only in this initial. So it'll go down a little bit next year, but not much. 99% of it's recurring.
Thank you.
And then reoccurring, but then every 2 years, subject to the final determination of the legislature.
That is true.
Thank you.
In House Bill 2, though, which is the general budget fund. So yeah, that is true, subject to the biennial legislature.
And while the board is the benefactor of those funds and that budget that gets produced by the state and the tribe, any issues about the funding, I think, would ultimately be between the state and the tribe, because the compact requires half coming from the state, half coming from the tribe. So that's my general understanding. Okay, we're open comments. I have a couple thoughts. I'm thinking more procedurally here, but let's go ahead, open her up. Procedurally, go ahead, Ken.
On Ethan's paper here, at the bottom, options to consider. One that caught my eye was removing word from direct access to WRIS, and I'm not objecting to it. I'm just curious why.
Mr. Chairman, board members, the options to consider really reflect uncertainty on what your ultimate budget's going to be. And so the options to consider are kind of a worst case scenario arrangement. Matter of fact, I did write this before I knew that the 10% reduction to the 700,000 allocation for the database work. So I wasn't sure how much of that was likely to be retained. And on the face, it does appear that there's an unknown cost, which would be setting a firewall between staff of this office and water rights off of the reservation. And I believe a similar type of firewall the other way around for water rights on the reservation, accepting ownership updates. And I realize that we all have a lot to learn still about the firewall dynamics. We don't want to come to you with the sense that I have more understanding of it than possible, but it is one area that we could, if we had to really tighten the belt, that would be something that we could consider. And DNRC would be to consider that too. That's just, they haven't responded, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I also had a question about the first option. The state board into a trust agreement to not modify water rights. Well, why is that necessary?
Mr. Chairman, board members, board member, if we didn't have to build a firewall, it'd be cheaper. And if we could come to some sort of terms where you didn't necessarily have to have a firewall, but we could just agree to diligently not modify the wrong set of water rights.
This is an option in case we don't get the firewall.
Yeah, but it's an option I don't know that DRC would be okay with, but it's an option that could be considered.
Okay.
And if we needed to reduce the cost of this production, I can only tell you from my experience of other firewall projects that those are typically kind of expensive. And building firewall securities. And I do know that there'll need to be some firewalls built for this because my last understanding is that the WRIS system is inside the larger state package, which includes a lot of other things that this office wouldn't or shouldn't have access to. But again, we probably have to get one of the DNRC IT folks in here to help us with that.
Thank you.
I'm personally trying to think about this more procedurally than anything right now, but in the big picture, let me ask this question, and maybe the tribal staff can answer this, but one of my early questions was, what is a charter? And so the state has now answered their position on that, and that is this is being deemed as an MOU, which raises it in import, if you another way to put that, in terms of its potential legal status, which is fine. That's their position on this. But given that we have the board and the state and the tribe participating in this, I see that only the board and the state are signatories to it. Can someone address why it's only those two when all three parties are involved in it? And there may be a good answer to it. I just want to make sure that the board is clear about that.
Mr. Chairman, board members, we have to look to Mr. Wick or
Melissa, Melissa, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I guess I can't do video. Anyway, so I just wanted to let you all know that DNRC did ask the tribes to participate in the process of at least the discovery portion of development of the database, so that we could provide input on what we would want to see included as far as the tribal water right information that would be inputted into the database in accordance with the ordinance and the compact. And we have dedicated staff, Amanda Spencer, who I think is there with you today, to be part of that project. The charter, though, is a direct agreement or memorandum of agreement or understanding or whatever you want to call it between DNRC and the board And the board is acting as a decision maker with respect to the database. And I think that goes in line with what the ordinance and the compact say about the database existence. And under the UAMO section 11108, it requires the board to cause all appropriation rights and changes authorized by the board, including those registered uses pursuant to other sections of the ordinance, be entered into the DNRC water rights database in a format agreed to by the board and the DNRC. So the UMO specifies that the database be done in a format and the information be put into the water rights database in a format agreed to by the board and the DNRC. So we did not feel like the tribes needed to be part of that agreement in a formal way, because that's not what the ordinance says. It just says in a format agreed to by the board and the DNRC.
Thanks,
But
Melissa. Any questions?
Yeah, we are grateful that the DNRC and the board are allowing the tribes to participate, at least in the discovery process, so that we have some input into what the tribal water rights will look like in the database.
Okay, thank you. And then I see, Arnie, do you still have a hand up?
Chairman, well said, Melissa. I couldn't have done it better myself, so I completely agree.
All right, thank you. So, aside from that, then, we know that Ethan and DNRC have been talking about a staffing solution. It's been indicated now that they would, a 2-week time frame would be appropriate to try to continue to work that out. If that's appropriate to the board, then one thought I have is that we, unless you have changes to the language of Ethan's draft, that we allow Ethan without necessarily taking action, just by consensus, allow Ethan to take his comments forward and try to work through the language of this quote MOU charter with his comments in mind over the next couple of weeks, to see if we can also bring this to closure, so that we have not only staffing but the appropriate language for the MOU. So before I go any further, Arnie, question for you, for the board to be clear. It is DNRC's position that we need this MOU. I would like the board to understand why you understand that, or believe we need to have an MOU in order to move this forward.
Sure, thank you, Chairman. Based on experience that the department's had in working on similar collaborations, like with the Water Court, for example, the commitment to investing the staff resources and having and maintaining momentum is essential. And so I think with the right staff, and I guess 2 of them per team, we feel based on our experience that gets us to that efficient level to make efficient progress. I think, as you've heard in the initial presentation on the database charter and in some follow-up correspondence, that there's a long list of reasons, data security, special authority, unique form types that aren't in DNRC's database. The list goes on. In that secure water right record, just fees, maintaining records and administering water rights is just, it's a foundational toolbox, to borrow from George's description. The DNRC completely agrees with that characterization. So we think now is the time. The database developers have a window. I think the charter's intent is to make the roles and responsibilities clear, so everybody's operating with eyes wide open, and now is the time. So I'll leave it at that, and I'm here for additional questions if I missed the mark there, Chairman.
No, I just needed the board to make sure everyone heard that, Roger.
So I just want to ask Arnie a question. So Arnie, you've heard some of the concerns about the firewall and whatnot. Are these the kind of things that you can just work through as part of this process? Should things arise, you just kind of, I mean, that seems like a basic thing is security and protection, but it seems like you would be anticipating that anyways to come up with a system for that.
Chairman Roger, it's certainly a concern. And that is, this will be managed by IT through permissions in coordination with respect. I think the nuance and ins and out of that need to be driven through the discovery process to see what the board wants to do. I think there's enough experience there based on what the department's done recently that I don't think we're going to be starting from square one there, but there are going to be unique wrinkles that need, the business entity is the office of the engineer and us there in support as DNRC to help explain what needs to happen and all the intricate nuance for each sequential step in database action. And so that we anticipate and plan for DNRC IT and respect to work through those issues when we get to that point.
Anybody else? Questions or comments? So my open suggestion was that if you're ready, unless you have changes to what Ethan has in writing, you want to authorize him to take what he has in writing, move forward, and for the next week or two, work with DNRC to see if we can finalize, get to some agreement on this MOU/charter. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone have any changes you want to suggest to what Ethan wrote? And I don't think we want to take action on that today, but just authorize you to, in draft form, to take that, Ethan, and sit down with your appropriate DNRC counterparts and as appropriate tribal counterparts, and let's see what we can work out. I think our hope is that we can try to work this out, and everyone wants us to move forward. We all agree with that. So, Ethan, will that work for you?
Works for me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board.
Okay, all right. Is there any other comments or suggestions today on this database discussion by the board? Hearing none. All right. Anything more from you, Ethan, on that?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Arnie, anything more from you or Melissa?
Nothing for me. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
I'm good. I don't need anything. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you all. And understand that there is a tribal staff person here today, and maybe we can meet that person. Well, not a big spot, just hi, how are you?
Hi, Chairman of the Board. I'm good. How are you?
Good. And what's your name again?
Amanda Spencer.
Amanda, thank you. Good to meet
Water main
you.
specialist working under Seth.
Okay, very good. Good to meet you. All right.
And graduate of this.
Yes,
absolutely. All right, super. Thank you. Just wanted to meet you. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else we should meet in this, Ethan?
Not Maya, but she's always nice to meet.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you. Can we move on then? All right, we're done with the item number 4. Office of Engineer, Water Engineer Personnel Policy. So we did have a discussion on this at our last meeting. This was kept on the agenda today. In the event there is something someone wants to talk about today, but we also have plans for a more detailed work session coming up. So at this point, floor is open for anything that the board would like to discuss this. Unless somebody makes a motion, I don't anticipate we're taking action on this today, but wanted to at least make sure that if there's something that someone wants to discuss today, spend a little bit of time on that, we can do that today. So,
I have a
Teresa.
comment.
yeah, Teresa has comment.
Yes, and thank you. I was glad that Ethan handed the draft off to the legal department because the development of appropriate and balanced personnel policies is so very important as we move forward with this small staff. I hope, and I don't know if this is the case, but I would hope we could have some initial comments from legal by the time we take this issue up at our next discussion. If there's a way that we can have the benefit of their comments and potentially in advance of that next meeting, that I believe would be the most beneficial of all, because then we know that they've had at least one set of legal review. My other comment related to personnel policies is that the proposal that was offered for the array of benefits that were identified has fiscal impacts. And it's kind of like, I feel like we're making decisions kind of, you know, with half of the information. And because we don't know the fiscal impacts of those personnel benefits or policies. So I think that puts us in a delicate position. Now, and I would like at some point to know what the fiscal costs of those policies are, because whatever we adopt, we hope that it's sustainable. It has to be sustainable. There's nothing worse than offering a benefit that later has to be taken back because you can't afford it. If the staff and Ethan, if there's a particular portion of the personnel benefits that's causing anybody grief right now, or concern, you know, I would like to know that. I mean, if it is the lack of direction with health insurance, it's a grave concern right now. I would like to know that, because potentially we have the option of addressing that benefit that's of the highest concern now before we deal with the larger menu of benefits. So as we continue to refine the fiscal cost of these personnel policies, I was grateful that we got some room on retirement, but you know, is it a PTO benefit or a health insurance benefit or life insurance benefit? If staff wanted to have input, like they'd say, yes, we want these two things resolved immediately, that while we look at the other, I think maybe that would be a good way to go. So I'd be interested in that.
Thanks, Teresa. So
I was just gonna reinforce Teresa's comments. The job market we're in, we need to keep our excellent staff happy and professional.
yep, and I think everyone here would agree. So working backwards through these items, Ethan, if there is one or two of the elements of the personnel policy that would be you'd want us to prioritize, then we could sure do that. Sounds like the board's willing to do that. So you might want to you don't have those items ready to spit out right now, then maybe very shortly in the next couple of days, you could drop us an email saying, let's prioritize these items, and we can start looking at those.
Sure, Mr. Chairman and board members, PTO is an obvious one. People would like to know, holidays is an obvious one. Cell phone reimbursements. I have to go back and review the retirement issue. We have been formally turned down for health insurance benefits from the state of Montana. And so I haven't had a chance to go back and look to the language that they cited there and see if somehow that spills over inadvertently into what we had planned for retirement.
And given that, especially on the fiscal note, I'm assuming that that's going to be quite an expense, but you'll need time to explore some options there, especially since the state, the other options you looked at are not available to us. So, but now that we have,
That's three options now that I have.
but now that we have some budget numbers, even though we don't have it fully approved yet, at least you've got some numbers we can use for some planning. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, we have some budget numbers that we can use, but the health insurance on a private market is kind of a cart and horse issue. There is a whole array of things that are out there trying to find something that matches with an established set of healthcare benefits is difficult. As you know, both CSKT and the state negotiate their own healthcare benefits. And so we're not going to be able to identically match things. The cost is going to be different than what you're accustomed to seeing. There's also a secondary. I'm less certain about CSKT healthcare, but certainly the state has state-sponsored clinics that we would not have available through a private vendor. So when you look at the cost to cost relationship, you have to factor in, there's all these external benefits of being part of a government health insurance program that are not available in the private sector. So I'm starting exploring that. It'll take me a little bit of time.
But you'll work through it. All right. Tracy, you had a comment?
But our retirement is set now, right? Or your comment, I'm not sure that I understood completely what your comment
I haven't
was.
had the time to explicitly go back and look at what was cited, why we are not eligible for the state health insurance.
No, I'm
And-
just asking about the retirement.
I
That's-
am, I'm trying to explain
Okay.
that. If that specifically, if that interpretation spills over into
Oh.
some of the agreement that we have on the public employee retirement system, I can't
Oh,
very
okay.
well go forward. Because it may exclude it.
Okay.
But at the time we discussed it last and took action and agreed to go, we thought at least that was,
We were.
I saw it on.
I could maybe get state health insurance too. And
We
as
were
things
approved.
progress, we learn that there's different sideboards than previously.
but the previous approval still
Yeah.
stands.
I think so, but I have to check.
Okay.
There's not any way for me not to go back and cross-reference the answer that we just got about health insurance and our ineligibility and make sure that
So you need to double check.
I need to double check
Okay.
that, yeah.
All right. All right. Well, keep us posted.
I was, Chairman, I'd say there's some urgency like.
Yeah.
I think it's the number one priority.
Yep. So, given that, what you put out there is you're working through the health insurance benefits and you're gonna double check on the retirement. Aside from that, you listed 3 other items as potential top priorities. What I heard you say is PTO, holidays, and cell phone. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
it would be remiss if I did not actually go back and circle in with the staff.
okay, would you like,
On behalf of the staff.
so let's do that. We'll hold those notes until you can email us with a more firm short list of what those priorities are that we can start with.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
Yes,
to
and
bereavement that list.
excuse me,
Bereavement that list.
and we'd like to add bereavement leave, you mean? Okay. Well, okay, so that should fall under all of them, okay. Any other comments, Teresa?
Yeah, just one last comment. Ethan is so very diligent. I'm sure he's thought about this, but there are those cases where uniqueness like we are, we don't fit kind of in one category or the other. And some employers develop health savings accounts where the employer makes healthy contributions to a health savings account. And then the employee can make decisions about how to use those dollars within IRS guidelines. So I hope that that is an option as well.
Certainly.
Yeah, I just had one comment. I guess I want to just specifically state how much you as the staff are appreciated. And I think it might be worth reminding the board that we have a staff that is largely, I think all but the one person is commuting every day at an expense. They're using their own phones at their expense. And they're continuing to have to operate without any real definition now on retirement and medical leave and days off. And these are extraordinary conditions. I want you to know that we're aware of that. And I just would like to encourage everybody, as you're looking through the personnel policies, there are items in there that come at no cost to the board that we can give this very qualified staff, like the probationary period of a year that's in there, I think is incredibly too excessive. That's just my opinion. But you can reduce that at no cost, right? There's no fiscal cost to reducing a probationary period. But I think we really have to start giving our staff something. And so I just want to concur with what I'm sure all of you were thinking. They've been giving and giving and giving and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I think it's time for us to start lavishing some attention on them and getting them some answers to these questions. Which I know you guys all agree with, but I wouldn't want to work under that kind of uncertainty. So, and I appreciate your patience in this. Know that we care about you and we're trying to get this moving forward. I just want you to hear that.
Thank you. Well said. Roger. Well said. And I, short of getting our actions done, I think understand that we care, we appreciate all of the work you do. We want to get this done with what, but we also need to get it done right. And so, thank you. Any other discussion on personnel policies today?
Mr. Chairman, board members, I will just offer that I have received very specific comments from both Georgia and Teresa. I was working through Teresa's earlier today and intend to do something similar, which is to kick that back at you with the understanding that Teresa's bringing up points that we will discuss at the next public meeting. And the intent there is not to make decisions behind closed doors, but to just simply build on a common draft. Because after our discussion at Tuesday's meeting and trying to wrangle this problem of a detailed document and moving it through multiple members, there's not another way to do it.
No, I get it. And I think understanding where we're at in terms of trying to find priorities, what I think
Yeah.
that means is that if we can come to terms on priority items, that we should be able to approve those as we go. Is that what your thinking was?
Yes.
And then that way, you know, even though we don't have a full set of personnel policies adopted, we'll get there, but if there's some priority ones that we can adopt early on, then we'd be glad to do that.
The cell phone reimbursement one is an easy one. I mean, if that needs to be prioritized for the 18th, then we should do that.
Yep.
Something like that is a lot easier than some of the more complicated issues.
Speaking of the next meeting on the 18th, is the 18th still good for everyone?
Yes.
Okay, 18th is still good.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, either to discuss at item 16 or now, the meeting on the 18th, I do need a little guidance on how I need to notice that meeting. So we can either notice that as with the personnel policies with opportunity to take action, or I can notice it strictly as a working session. But you just got to tell me how you want that notice to go out, and whether or not there should be any other topics, like possibly item 6 that I keep knocking off of our agenda, which is domestic allowances. You got to tell me some guidance on what you want to work on at that meeting and how you want the meeting agenda to look.
Well, let's start backwards. Do you want to include, board, do you want to include anything other than personnel policies of the 18th?
I would say it's a matter of time. I think the personnel policies are going to take a full meeting.
Okay, so we're probably stuck with the personnel policies. And in terms of whether we want to take action or not, I think the cleanest way is to set it up to potentially take action. And if you don't, then we don't. If you set it up for no action, then we don't have a choice. So I think that way, if we do come to terms and are able to take action on a single policy, then we do it. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. What time of the day would you like to meet on the 18th?
Is it another 1 to 5?
1 or 2 or 3 is the way we've been doing it, so.
I think there's a lot to review there, so.
I do.
1.
1 to 5, Mr. Chairman, board members, thank you.
And one last question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do I understand correctly? You're going to send us a new draft of the policy that incorporates Georgia and Teresa's comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Does that work for everybody? And if you have already offered substantial work on some other draft, I can move that over for you. So to try to help you out if you're already deep into
And then when do
one of the other drafts. And did anybody find the videos on track changes?
I did have a look at it.
Teresa has a question.
Yeah, and legal's input, legal's review will be available when?
Ms. Franson?
So, hi, Haley. Did you hear the question?
I did, yes. My plan is to get my comments back to Ethan by Tuesday. Preferably Tuesday morning, so that you at least have 48 hours to look it over, roughly 48 hours to look over my comments.
Thank you.
And I will try to have my comments in by Tuesday also.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. I think we can move on. So we'll move on. So thank you. We scratched 6. We're going on to 7. Water right application deadline.
Great.
Afternoon, board members. Next up for your consideration is the deadline extension request 1. The next 5 items on your agenda are gonna all be forms, so get ready for that. So you reviewed this on Tuesday. There was very few changes, just some formatting changes that we made to this form. A couple of key points that I'd like to point out here. One is that to make these extensions, the water engineer does reserve the right to deny those, which is not a certainty of anything. And then also 2 important things to note here are the 2 separate filing fees. We have one filing fee of $65, and that's if they contact us, the applicant will contact us and let us know that they are going to miss their deadline. We can extend that preemptively. And then if they do end up fully missing their deadline, we can extend it after the fact for an additional charge of $115. And the reason for that is because we would already have to do the work of terminating that application, sending that mail, having it approved. So it is an additional bit of work.
After looking at this, not that it matters, but does this also allow for a second or third extension?
Good question.
That's a good question.
Good question.
I mean,
That's a really.
not that it, I'm assuming if so, they get to the end of that first extension. If they contact you and pay another 65, would it? I don't know that we'll run into that, but that was just a dawn on me.
Mr. Chairman, board members, it is intentionally worded as extend the deadline. So then if we extend your deadline, you have a new deadline, you could come back in and extend your deadline again.
Okay.
So that.
Gary would also like to add comments.
Okay. We have a comment.
Oh, I was just going to comment what Ethan had answered about the deadline extension request. I do believe we discussed that we would only extend it once.
And also it is important to note that if you miss your deadline by over 6 months, this would not apply, that does be applied in the application.
Well, now that we've talked about it, Ethan, she said once, I thought I heard you say it could be repeated. Did I hear wrong?
I think it's left up to it's ambiguous intentionally and left up to the office of the engineer.
Okay. If we ever run into it, I guess we'll hear about it. So, all right, thank you. Any other comments you have on this?
Nope, just.
Okay, okay, Roger.
So this pertains to the part B filing, the part A where you apply for the well drawing permit. Didn't we have allow like a 1-year extension on that already or something? Just to refresh my memory.
No, this is definitely very much geared towards part A, where you have a year to drill your well. And that's not an option that we can change. That's explicit in the ordinance. And so generally, again, written in a way that we could extend any portion of any deadlines if we so chose. But with the key difference being that you either got this filed beforehand or you filed it after we already sent you a letter. And if we had to take the action of sending you a letter, then it's going to cost more. And then this form is designed where once we get into new appropriations, changes and other things with water right deadlines, we would just expand on the boxes in item 3 and be able to add additional types of extensions. And I will note that the extensions for like a new permit off the reservation are quite a bit more expensive than these. So anyway, hope that helps to answer your question.
Okay, and as always, I believe that whatever these look like when we approve them, we can always come back and change them or correct them or add to them whenever we need to. So any other comments by board members? No. If you are ready to take action, then I'll take public comment, so. Okay, we'll do, trying my best not to miss the public comments here. So, public comment on application deadline form. Anybody in the audience here or online? Any comments on the deadline extension?
If you'd like to make an online comment, just raise your hand and I will make it possible. for you to speak. Mr. Chairman, I see no comment.
Okay, seeing none, close public comment. And if the board members are ready to take a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve Form 607 F deadline extension.
Motion by Ken.
Okay.
Second by Teresa. Roger. Okay. Georgia.
Yes.
Teresa.
Yes.
Ken. And I'm a yes, all approved. Unanimous, thank you. Next.
Thank you. Board members, next up for your consideration is the request to withdraw a water right form. This form is intended to allow applicants to remove their interest in a water right or remove the water right entirely. This is basically used as a way to clean up water right records and help the process move a little bit more smoothly. You'll notice there is not a filing fee associated with this, but it is required that this form is notarized, and that's because you are reducing the property right. We want to be extra careful that we are dealing with the right applicants.
Is this the one, excuse me,
Yes.
is
Comments?
this, excuse me, is this the one we asked why there wasn't a filing fee?
Yes.
Yes.
The reason for that would be that the DNRC's withdrawal form does not have a
And our fee schedule parallels theirs.
in the ordinance. It does describe how our fees should mirror theirs.
Got it.
Ken,
How come this withdrawal form doesn't have a number?
That's a good question.
form number, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I believe the DNRC's withdrawal form also doesn't have a number.
Should it have a number?
Should it have a number?
We can easily assign a number if the board so chooses.
You want a number? Teresa, want a number, Georgia?
Makes sense.
Roger. So a consensus, we would like to go ahead and assign the number. Can we approve it today, Ken, without a number and say it will be assigned a number? Yes. Okay.
There is a typo correction on it.
Do you want to go ahead and spit that out?
Oh, it's already on the form that is passed
Okay, I
Yes.
see. It says I declare under penalty
out. In perjury.
and perjury, or it says penalty of perjury. So, that language came from,
That language was a mistake that had sort of persisted on a few of our forms, and we are going to clean that up.
okay, that looks like probably something that came from or was assigned by legal.
Potentially, yes.
Okay, in that case, Haley, is there? We need to correct that. You're good with that?
Yes, the language that I provided comes from Montana Code annotated section 16105, which says declare under penalty of perjury.
Mr. Chairman.
All right,
board members,
very good.
We did get that email and we copied the direct language from Haley. I think it just had a typo in it.
All right, very good. Thank you. So with that correction, is board have any other comments? If none, do you want to take action to approve this form with the understanding that it'll have a number in the future?
Yes.
Motion,
I move.
motion by Ken,
I move that the water rate withdrawal form be assigned a number and that the paragraph under declaration should say I declare under federally of perjury.
motion by Ken, second by Teresa, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, approved, thank you.
Thank you, board members. Next up, I believe, is a reduction correction form, and I'm gonna have an invite you to that.
Sharon.
Good afternoon to our future baby lawyer.
So from my understanding, saw this at the last meeting, we did add a notarization at the base of this one. Which does sort of mirror DNRC's reduction form. Their correction form doesn't have a notary, but the two forms were combined on this, in this case. So we added a notary. I think that's the only change that we made to it from when you saw it.
It's the same typo as the other.
It does have the same typo. All the forms you see today are going to have that typo. We tried to correct them, so we apologize.
Okay, with that, then I guess I probably missed a public comment on the last one. We're not getting a lot of them anyway, so any other comments by board members? Okay, public comments on this, any public comments here or online?
Anyone online would like to make a public comment, raise your hand, I'll like to speak.
This is on the request to reduce or correct a water right record.
Seeing no public comment.
Okay, just for information, how many do we have online?
About four.
About four, okay, so hearing none, close the public comment, do you want to take action?
I'll make the motion to approve request to reduce the correct water rate record to 625 F with revision of changing N to 37.
Motion by Roger, second by Georgia, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, approved, thank you. Moving us on to the next form, which is 609F, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, board members, 609F, decided I would explain this one, talk about this one as it is a complaint form. And we have tried to address a few of the issues that were brought up the other day at discussion phase, trying to clean up the language about the filing fee, and then also including a section on a desired or preferred remedy. The question is, the board is a little bit twofold. One, does the form meet your approval? And two, do you actually want to approve the form if it does meet your approval?
What? Sorry, I'm not sure I understood your question.
Board members, if you approve the form, then people will be able to file it. So just be aware that it does instigate an activity that this office would then start to engage in, because the form would be complete. It goes out and is posted. That would mean that we start accepting complaints.
If we did approve it, would it be usable?
If you do not approve it, no, it would not.
The only way you can use it is if we approve it.
The only way that this form can be used is if the board approves it. But if the board approves it, then the form can be used.
Wow.
Well, I'm assuming that's true with all the forms.
That is very accurate and true with all the forms.
But your question, I think, goes beyond that. I think my interpretation of your question is, does the board want a complaint?
Yes, that is a good way to put it.
Now,
Sure.
whether we have a form or not, are we gonna get complaints?
The question at hand with what we do with complaints in the interim is that we can do what we do with some of the other water right processes that are not currently ready. And we say, we're sorry, our office is not ready to accept complaints or changes to water rights or wetland water rights or other in-stream flows. But our general policy is once you have a form that's out there and approved by the board, we accept the form.
Ethan, there might be a reason you're asking that question. What's the reason you're asking?
The reason I'm asking, Mr. Chairman, is that if you do approve the form, I want you to be aware that this office will start to receive.
Are we getting complaints now?
There are informal complaints. This would make them a formal complaint if they file it on one of our forms in our office.
Mr. Chairman,
Ken,
I think what Ethan is trying to say, let me help you,
Please.
is that once we have a complaint form and a complaint process, we're gonna move into a whole new phase. Yes, Florida.
no, I understood. Yes, I agree. So, and your other comments? Roger.
I guess my thought is, yeah, once you approve this form, the barn door is open. So, and I'll reiterate what I said Tuesday, is that could wind up being a big time sink for the staff to have to process these, and I guess I have some reservations. It's the workload they currently have.
Sure. Georgia.
I feel the same way when I went back and looked at the language of the ordinance. This could kick in all kinds of compliance issues too, and we're not there yet, in my opinion. So
Okay. Tracy.
If it is an assigned board responsibility set forth in the compact and the ordinance, that we have a formal complaint process, then it seems like it is something we should do. I would like to increase the filing fee cost. If complaints are going to be a time sink, which I believe they would be. And the other part about the time sink is that I expect that this staff does great, high quality work. So it's going to cost us. So it seems important to recoup the investment of the time commitment. Sometimes when the fee is higher, individuals tend to work things out with their neighbor more. That's,
Incentive.
yeah, it's an
Or disincentive.
incentive. But anyway, that's my comment.
Georgia.
yes, I wanted to make an observation. I agree with you, Teresa. I just feel like, and indulge the patience of the board. Maybe Ethan, you can clarify if my logic is wrong on this, but if we start getting complaints, we have to answer complaints, which means staff have to go out and deal with potentially upset homeowners. And you guys don't even have life insurance yet. So I don't think we should be asking staff to take on responsibilities that involve conflict with homeowners if we're not yet taking care of our staff. The other problem I have with this, having been a rancher in this valley for several years, and I've shared this a little bit. If you're a rancher in this valley, it's expensive. And if you've got somebody upstream from you stealing your water, paying $55 can be a real hardship at the end of the month. It's not getting cheaper to live here, it's getting more expensive. If somebody is taking the water illegally, whether they know it or not, they should be the ones paying this fee, not the person they're taking it from, in my opinion. But I don't want to, I'll just say on the record, I don't want to move on this until we take care of our staff. And then maybe come back and revisit this, because I don't want to put them in harm's way if we're not really have medical insurance. So.
Yes,
There you go.
Oh, Ken, then Roger.
Ethan, is there a way to come up with an interim complaint form? So two reasons. Number one, you don't expose the staff to danger. Number two, the public actually has a process they can use.
Board Member Pitt, a couple, well, in general, board, a couple of things. One, it could be a time sink. It is also maybe worth your consideration next week when you look at the overtime aspects of the proposed personnel policies, that would be, that could help us with some of our timing things and offer an incentive. Two, I am the harm's way thing, we won't, you say if it looks like there's a harm's way issue, it'll be your engineer that's dealing with it, not staff. Three, I do try to resolve things informally when I can, for what it's worth. But some of them are just a bigger deal that you know it's just going to require an order out of this office. And one last item, you could find a happy medium and just let this go out in public comment.
All right, Roger.
I guess George had kind of alluded to one thing about, are we set up to then follow up with all of the other things that are associated with the complaint? Then it goes to a hearing, then it goes to this step, you know, and so it's gonna trigger a whole realm of other tasks or whatever. So I guess I just don't think we're quite ready for it.
Question, Ethan. So is it your assumption that we will be ready for this at some point?
As chairman, board members, you know, Roger's on to some of the issues, like, is it going to be 2 or is it going to be 25? I can't, similar to some of the other water right issues that this office has got to deal with, they are a little Herculean. But you know, like, can we deal with 10 of these this summer? Yeah. Can we deal with 100 of them this summer? Probably not, but
Well, my question is more, let's say we agree to just hold off. At some point down the road, we're assuming that we would be ready to implement something like this.
yeah,
Yes. So in the meantime,
we
if
need
you're,
to implement this eventually.
okay.
This is an essential function of this office.
Okay, so in the meantime, the both informal complaints that you are receiving, you're documenting them how?
They're informal. They're not being documented for formal action.
And so the flip side of all this then is, if they're not being documented, but you're getting them, one, how are they being resolved? And if they don't get resolved, are we at risk of some kind of challenge? Because they're not being
Absolutely.
resolved. Just,
Yeah, I think that risk is real.
okay.
Yes, I think there's risk of not having a complaint form. I think there's risk of having a complaint form. And I know that that's not terribly clear, but we will have to deal with it eventually, whether it's now or not.
Do you have any unresolved complaints today?
Yeah,
Do you have the intention of resolving them or the ability to resolve them?
if this form is finalized by the board, I would distribute this form to people that I know that have complaints they'd like to file.
I mean, informally, as an informal, if they're coming in, you're receiving a complaint, what are you telling them?
We do generally try to tell people when they don't have a water right, that they need to curtail the use and let them know that, you know, we're not quite into the enforcement phase of anything for purposes of dealing with complaints yet, but we encourage them to get in compliance. Either apply for a water right and resolve it or stop the use.
So maybe that's a key, your phrase, into the enforcement phase. So at some point, we'll be into the enforcement phase.
And that is largely what you see with this.
But also staffing. I mean, we're needing to continue or finish building up the staff, correct?
That's true.
Okay. All right, I would So maybe an additional middle of the road option is to allow Ethan and the staff to deal with complaints as they see them. But should anything rise to the need, that they be brought to us on an as need basis. I'm just throwing this out until we do have a form, and that somehow we need to not ignore them. But if we don't have a form, then we do need to deal with them somehow. So I'm trying to find that balance here. So Teresa.
Yeah, I wonder what the risk is of not dealing with them or not responding or not creating a record. Especially if it is an essential function, as you alluded to.
Your legal counsel is on.
Yes, please.
Yeah, before we, can we go to legal review?
Yeah.
Okay, Haley.
Yeah.
We have a question.
Can I have the question repeated?
Yes, so we've talked about the fact that resolving complaints isn't to use Ethan's term, an essential function. And board responsibility is set forth in the compact and the ordinance. And so we're just wondering what the risk is if we do in fact have informal complaints that have come in and we're not formally documenting them. We're offering advice, but not I guess, documenting resolution. What is the risk to that? The other thing I'd like to comment about is that this operation, this organization, it has been a Herculean effort. And there's been many things that have been resolved that we weren't yet ready to resolve, but yet there's a responsibility to resolve. So that, I kind of think about that, us executing what we're supposed to execute. But what's our risk if we don't have a formal complaint process? So could somebody out there take legal action? Could they, sue the board?
Sure. Yeah, and that's a lot to unpack. I think some of that discussion gets into conversation that legal counsel would have with the board separately from an open meeting. I will say that Ethan is correct, and as board members have also recognized, it is a function of the board and through the office of the engineer to set up a complaint process and have that process functioning. I can understand the constraints that are at hand with staffing, and also I understand with the insurance piece too, for protection of the staff. But yes, that is a piece that the office and the board should be considering rather quickly. The piece about documenting informal complaints, I mean, it's always good practice to be documenting that in some form or fashion, whether it's, somebody came in at this time and this date, this is what it was generally about. That's an office of the engineer practice that they can adopt and they can go forth with. So that's kind of my take on some of those questions. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, it's just, let me go to Roger first.
I didn't. I don't know.
Okay, Ken.
So I'm speaking to the board member, not a attorney. But the decisions by the engineer will be reviewed by us. And what we will be reviewing is the record that the engineer creates. It's not in the record, we don't review it. Okay, if it goes beyond us into quite a competent jurisdiction, the review once again will be on the record. So it's essential from day one to have a legally admissible record. That's my take, as a board.
Yeah, I mean, as a layperson, I would have probably taken the position that the complaint comes in. If we don't have a form, I'd say put it in writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Create a
then,
record.
and then we, you know, then they've done that, but that's just me, so. So let me hit pause there. Anything else, Haley?
No, none from here, just, yeah, I would support, the comments made about keeping some sort of documentation.
Okay, Ethan, anything else?
No, sir.
Board members. What would you like to do? I hear a consensus of holding off, but let's,
I guess you want, I have a motion if you want to. Public comment.
I will call for public comment. Would you be willing to share your motion with us first?
Sure.
Just so I know.
My proposed motion would be to table the complaint form at this time, because I think we still have these are unresolved. We have concerns about health and safety of the staff, and that we do have, we can informally, and that we can informally respond to them. We have a process to do that.
Okay, so we have a proposed, yes, Ken.
We informally respond to written complaints. Somehow get that record requirement into your motion.
Help me out.
Board members, I mean, I did kind of try to go over the enforcement section with the intent to understanding that if you're gonna receive a complaint, there's like some pretty specific events that follow receiving a complaint. That's why, for me, I'm either gonna receive a complaint and formally follow the ordinance, you know, or it's not gonna be a formal.
Or you're gonna hold it off.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
all right.
just forgive me for interjecting in the
No.
discussion.
Comment.
Teresa,
Yeah, the motion, if we were, I would be in favor of the motion if it were amended to include a time when we pick the complaint form and process up again. Not to table indefinitely, that it have some sort of a deadline to pick it back up.
so, Doherty, did you have a comment?
Well, I just think it was kind of implied perhaps that once we have the insurance and benefit issue resolved for our staff, that would be an appropriate time to revisit the complaint.
Okay,
But we could perhaps amend it to be more specific. I don't know.
do you have a suggestion for the motion? Roger, having heard the comments, is there a,
I guess we should just add in ending a secure health insurance coverage for staff. So,
why don't I suggest this is, it's gotten to be a little bit more in detail than I thought it would be, but
and then
given that, why don't we do this? Why don't you, I don't want to stop the meeting, but why don't you take just a second and draft out your motion? I mean, I think this has gotten to, you know, maybe one of those we should draft out, and then when you're ready, we can just read it.
Good idea.
That way there's no ambiguity.
It's hard to give a date to revisit because we have the complexity of insurance that
But we set some sideboards that we do. I think Teresa's point is that not that, I mean, that we don't just table it indefinitely, because a lot of times boards will table something and once it's tabled, they never revisit it, it's done.
Gotcha.
It's done. We
And
want
then we're-
to
And then,
make sure that, yeah,
then we're ignoring a function.
Gotcha.
yeah, so we don't want to table it and not revisit. You want to be able to postpone maybe. and then
Well,
revisit.
plus you revisit and then maybe by that time other issues have come to light and it's modified and tabled again or able
Yeah.
to be acted upon, but it sets a.
So just out of pure respect for the four of you, I'm gonna vote no. Because I think we need to reform, we need to process. other stuff.
Without the deadline, I'm opposed. That if you revisit, I would vote no also.
A deadline or just the
Well,
comment, a language to revisit,
to revisit,
Okay.
but just a table
right? Well,
indefinitely, which could happen, I'm opposed.
let's hear what Roger has to say when he's ready, so, yeah. That's fine. That's fine. Would you like to take 5?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take 5, take a break. And that'll be good for me. I need to use the restroom. Thank you.
is to table approval of the water use complaint form for the following reasons. One, I think, is we need to resolve the filing fee amount. Two is concerns regarding health and safety of staff with doing field investigations. Three is I'd like to see a flow chart developed for subsequent process of appeals and hearings. And so that we know what the follow through process is going to be. And three is in the meantime, we could utilize an informal process requesting the complainant to respond in writing in order to establish written record. And I would put a duration on this postponement of 90 days or until we have health insurance for the Flathead Reservation Water Management Board staff, whichever comes first.
Okay, we're approaching resolution language here, aren't we? So, but thank you. So with that, we'll take public comment. Any public comments from anyone in the audience here or online?
If you would like to make a public comment, just raise your hand and I can make it possible for you to speak. I see no public comments.
Okay, seeing nobody here and nobody online that has a public comment, we'll close the comment period. So with
This goes down to Roger.
this goes to Roger.
You want to amend it?
Yes.
So do we want to reread that with that amendment?
I guess
Teresa, you want to go ahead and indicate what you want?
Yes, I support the amendment as drafted with the motion as drafted, but would like to suggest an amendment that where you quoted until health insurance is made available, we could say health insurance / health benefit, because it may be a benefit that's not insurance based.
So,
accepted.
all right, with that accepted, we have the motion and accepted amendment to that. So, do I have a second to that motion? Second by Georgia. So let's go, Roger.
Yes.
Yes, Georgia?
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
Ken? No. And I'm a yes, so we have one no to that. And it passed, all right. Thank you. Ethan, got that?
Mr. Chairman, board members, you guys. I think we might have to do know to approve the form, you have to have a unanimous vote, I guess. Maybe a majority vote to table one.
Do we have a majority vote? I think we're good.
Okay.
Should you choose to go back and find some legal reason that doesn't work, bring it back next meeting.
Great, thanks, sir, just trying to understand the process.
All right. All right, let me see where we're at. Well, I think I have us on item number 11, water measurement report form, Office of Engineer staff.
Okay, board members, last form of the day.
You promise?
I do.
Thank you.
Up for your consideration is the water measurement report. This is very similar to the report that you saw on Tuesday with a few specific changes that you suggested. One being after water measurement report, we added the wording not needed for most uses. Now, this was a suggestion, I believe, by Ken to indicate that these are meant mostly for our development domestic allowances once those are rolled out. We will, though, use this form for other specific instances when water measurement is required. That's in controlled groundwater areas, potentially for using permits and things like that. We did fix one spelling error in the bottom right. And besides that, the form is the same.
Question. Who determines whether or not this form is used? Where it says not needed for most uses, if you were a new employee, would you know where to find that answer, or who makes the decision, or how is it used?
Yeah. Okay, any water, water right that would require a water measurement would be displayed with a remark on the right side of the form
Okay,
indicating that they
okay.
will need to file this form.
Okay, got it.
Ken?
No, it's
Spit it out.
not needed for most uses, just seems kind of vague. Is it intentionally vague?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the question.
Right now, it doesn't, I believe right now it doesn't apply to anything. It's coming up. The first one would be the domestic domestic development allowance. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then once we get into full blown municipal subdivisions, whatever.
Some people already have an existing water measurement reporting requirement. And they could file it on this one. State-based uses.
I guess I would say none of the water rights that we've issued.
That's accurate. And the ones that we would need this for would be the development domestic allowances, for sure.
So maybe a way would just be to list that. To resolve Kim's concern about the ambiguity.
It starts to be kind of a long list of places you might end up using this water measurement form. I mean, I guess we could like add another page, but we were trying to mostly make the point of like, it's not needed for most. Yeah.
But that's where I was gonna, what if then you just say does not apply to domestic allowance?
It could apply to domestic allowances, though, if in the future, there are reasons that unique reasons. I would find them to be unusual unless there was a control or a groundwater management area, something to that effect. We can say it if you want, you can change it later. I kind of, we went through a little bit of a cycle of this interior here with the staff and had a hard time parsing out exactly how to explain that it's not needed for most uses without being so specific that, anyway, that's where I'm happy to take specific language.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
I kind of like it tells the applicant most uses that he or she is forced to ask, does it apply?
Yeah.
And you know, I have an aversion to lists. And I think this we take care of my concerns.
Roger?
Okay.
Roger? Teresa?
I'm good.
We're mostly good.
Oh, so good. Gotta be,
Sort of like not needed for most uses. We're mostly good.
You are. It has.
Yes, so are we ready for action, mostly action on this?
oh, coming.
So it looks like we're ready, so we go. Anybody in the audience, in person or online, has a comment on the water measurement report?
If you would like to make a public comment, raise your hand and I can make it possible for you to speak.
Seeing none, hearing none, public comment on that form is closed. So if the board is ready, we'll take action to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Teresa,
I will make a motion to approve the water measurement report form dated May 11, 2023.
motion,
Form that is not needed for most uses.
motion by Teresa. Second by Ken.
Also.
All in favor, say aye. Mostly ayes and any nays? No nays. We have ayes, no nays. You're approved.
Oh.
Thank you. All right. So I see we are at something about a logo.
You have that to put up on the screen for us?
That's the reason.
Looks like it to me.
Okay.
It's pretty, you know.
Mr. Chairman, board members, we have for your consideration an array of logos here. And if you will, let me just explain what we've got. This was requested,
This is the
just the mountains
But now-
and the title. There are like 17 other logos that look just like that. So we opted to try to do something a little more original. We did also throw out an option to try to revive
That's what I want.
slight different arrangement on the last contracted arrangement, or excuse me, logo. Then something completely new from the office, which I hope that the board would consider. Is replacing the TP barn arrangement with the Bitterroot, which is both important flower to the Indian folks in the reservation and also a state flower. It's a good symbol that matches some importance on all the representatives here. And this arrangement would kind of like that, because you could go for a shorter, smaller something and just bring the letters into FRWMB. Some of the staff like these other arrangements better over here, especially this seems to be popular. But there they are for your consideration, and I do really hope that you find something up on the board that you can embrace. Maybe we can have a logo.
No.
Comments? Glad you mentioned that it's the state flower. Yeah, that's good. It is an important.
Please, board, understand that that was not all my doing. Staff has done a fair amount of research and help. A lot of this is in-house and ebbs and flows on trying to get something together. If you have an arrangement that you end up liking, we'll doctor it up better, but we want to invest our time wisely on something that that meets your general
Well, it also has a fair bit of importance and significance to the Flathead Reservation.
That certainly was part of why it was also chosen.
Yes. So comments, support.
I have a comment that might be out of place, since I'm not a tribal member. But I'm wondering if we should run this design by those who understand what's culturally significant.
Okay,
Even though it is.
yeah, good comment. Well, let's let's consider whether or not we want to have consensus on one first. And if it includes that, then maybe we can reconsider that. How's that? Because we may consider one that doesn't have that. So is there one you like and you want to consider?
I like top and center.
Top in the center. So there's one.
Nicely balanced.
I like the middle on the right with the arched flag reservation. But the other one is nice. Anybody else there to chime in?
I will dare.
There,
I will dare. I like the top left. That might be the most vanilla. And in my heart of hearts, I like the one under that, but I understand that there might be concerns about that one. But
okay. Getting it narrowed, we got it narrowed down to 3.
Like the Supreme Court, we're gonna have 5 different opinions.
Maybe. Maybe. Georgia, Roger?
I'm reluctant to express an opinion because it's different from the others.
We should have done a blind vote that has that. So go ahead, go ahead.
I like the bottom. It's just
Bottom, okay,
so easy.
yeah, it's just basically the same as I get it, yeah.
For what it's worth, again, board members here, these middle ones here, what we envision would be an option is to have this more detailed arrangement. If you had a big sign or something, this would go on smaller letterhead. So kind of the same, but different applications.
But the idea of how the FRWMB is laid out on the middle one and the bottom one, I think that's good. Roger.
I kind of like that bottom middle one too, the black and white, just because I think it'll be easy to reproduce on their head and stationary envelopes or whatever.
Okay, Roger, Ken or Teresa, any further consideration?
And I'll change my vote to the bottom center.
I'll change my vote to Clayton's with the kind of circular.
We're down to 2.
But I do think that Ken's comment is important. That if we do include the Bitterroot, that beyond the consideration of the state flower, I think we would need to consult with tribal folks to see whether or not they would have any concern that we included the Bitterroot.
Okay. So we're down to bottom center or middle right.
I'm real flaky. I'm gonna go with your plates.
It's not mine.
All
They really are.
Yeah.
These are the best yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the best yet.
Yep. Any further considerations, Roger or Georgia?
If we do end up on the far right middle, we do need a little guidance on where you want to see FRWMB for the smaller. You know, the logo will have to appear sometimes larger, and once in a while it's going to have to be smaller where it would reduce to the acronym.
Yeah.
I think we use the world right for the office sign, right? And then on the logos, on the letters and documents, envelopes, we use middle center. Bottom center,
So we've got both of those.
yeah.
We can work with both of those. With that, functionally, how does that?
We're good to go. Yep,
So we've got,
and we do need a board member to volunteer to run this through the cultural committee. As part of your.
I'll do that.
okay, so let me reiterate, we have general consensus on the use of those two. The bottom middle and the middle right.
I like Ken's thought of using the bottom middle one for letterhead and then the one in the middle for signing.
Maybe letterhead and business card. And then, yeah, you heard things. And then, okay, so Georgia,
Sure, that sounds great.
Teresa?
Yes.
Wow, we have consensus.
Oh, man.
Those
Ethan,
two
yes,
and Teresa will, if, so you probably want to give Teresa that in a printout, or
Yes.
do you want some on paper or even?
You can paper.
Give her some on paper that,
Print me out a couple.
that's
and
the one that is. So those two, and then she can run that by the clerk committee.
And if the board's willing, on some occasions, we may end up using this one also, if we need a color variant of the smaller one. So you're gonna kind of get three logos.
Okay,
Is that gonna work for you?
yep, consensus.
If
we're
you print them out for me, I'll run them by you.
Do you need action? Consensus good enough?
No, I want you to take action on it and adopt a logo. It's a formal thing. It's, I'm gonna put it on your bylaws. There's a spot for your bylaw in your bylaws. We'll put that one with the art words right there in the middle of the page on your bylaws, and you'd be like, this is it. This is what's gonna go on the sign unless you get a backlash from the cultural committee.
Is those,
Right.
are those two adequate, or do we need to go three?
I'm gonna give you the, you gotta grab through.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
three, so let's,
Different applications.
let's number them. The middle is 1. Bottom middle is 2. The middle right is 3. So items 1, 2, and 3, we are approving for use.
Can be.
Did you have comment?
I'm sorry, no, nothing.
So we'll go items 1, 2, and 3 to approve pending review and agreement by the culture committee. So do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve logos 1, 2, and 3, subject to okay by the cultural
Second.
consultation.
Motion by Ken, second by Teresa.
You need a public comment.
And now's a good time to have public comment before we vote. All right,
Want to leave
any public comments?
have comments online, just raise your hand and I will make it possible to speak.
And again, I was calling number 1 middle. I was calling number 2 bottom middle, and I was calling number 3 middle right. So that's the 1, 2, 3.
You got that.
Okay. And no public comment. So public comment closed. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We have consent. We're good to go. And that'll look really pretty on that awning out front. On it.
There's a spot for a sign.
There you go. Sign. There you go.
So we'll take action on that. You'll see. I'm sure some sign for
There you
that.
go. All right. 13, water right applications for trusts and corporations, water engineer and council.
All right, so I'm going to introduce this topic and then I'll ask Haley to speak if she would. Here in our office, we've had a fairly large number of water right applications coming in for parcels that are either in trust or in corporations like LLCs. And typically, when we receive an application for something that's in trust, we need to also get the trust documents that designates who the trust executors are, executor or executors are. And that allows us to then have some continuity of title for the property that matches. Sometimes those are in limited liability corporations or other types of corporations, and the documents for the other types of corporations can often be much more complicated. Even for some of the trusts, it's not always just a real plain, this person can sign on behalf of acquisition or management of assets for this trust. And it's proven to be a bit of a frustration. So what I needed was to get a little better understanding. And I had asked Haley to review this issue, and I had even sent her a specific consideration. We sometimes even have LLCs, and the members of the LLC are trusts. And it's a substantial time sink for us, frankly. And I have wonderment about whether we should charge more for that service or require in some circumstances, if it's hard to determine for us, that the owner of the corporation or a complicated trust maybe just provide their own counsel's clarification on who is allowed to sign for that trust, so that I don't really have to worry about it. And sorry to whine, board members, but it is everybody here whines about it because we're kind of done. We read a lot of trusts.
Well, I'm assuming it also has some legal significance to the ownership of the water right.
Yes, and our going philosophy, which I understand to be the trend, is that the water right, if for a property that's in trust, should also be in trust and match the ownership. Certainly, if a property has two owners on it and we get an application in that only has one owner's signature, we send that back for the other owner's signature every time. So whatever is listed as the property owner, we need to see that represented as the applicant. And if it's in trust, we need to know that the person signing the document is actually allowed to sign for that trust. So I hope I've explained the situation. There's a lot of fingers out in the different details that you can get into about this. And I did ask Haley to speak to this topic, and board would allow, we can shift over to her, and maybe she's got something awesome for us.
Okay, thank you, Ethan. Haley?
Sure. Thank you, board members and Ethan. Yeah, so Ethan did provide me with a specific communication that was sent in. I don't know, Ethan, if you would like me to kind of run with that as an example.
Haley, why don't you just go with it generally, but not specifically, if you know what I mean?
Sure. So this is a tricky topic because it unfortunately can be cumbersome. In terms of certain situations where a trust is authorizing a third party to sign documents or enact documents with the board, that is fine to do. They just have to send in some sort of authorization to the board saying that, and that's actually the example that Ethan provided me with as well. In those situations, the office can ask for trust certification to check that trust document to make sure that that is accurate, that those trustees do have that authority. And unfortunately, it does require a little bit more work in terms of LLCs and their articles of incorporation. I can I can definitely support Ethan's comments on how difficult some of those can be to parse through. What the office could do, and this could be something that the board might consider as well, is come up with some sort of office document that is available to members of the public who are going to have to be filling out these forms for this particular situation. Where if you have an LLC with your application, you are required to provide that document that lists the authorized parties or the signatories.
Is that documentation different than the trust itself?
It can be, so generally there's a trust document that's usually a couple pages to quite a few pages long. And then there's also, in most circumstances, a trust certification. The trust certification should have the information of who the trustees are, and those are the parties who would be able to sign a document such as a well permit or what have you.
Yeah, one of the hassles that we've come up against is that trusts for different states have different requirements. And although some of the properties that are here, they are in a trust that was actually created in a different state.
Mhm.
And therefore have different trust properties. For instance, some states you have to register your trust with the state. In other states, you don't have to do that. So it gets a little messy. So on a trust certification, what would we need to see that lets us know that it's valid?
Essentially, what you're looking for are who the trustees are. So the trustees are who can generally enact certain processes on behalf of the trust.
And so some of those, if somebody just creates this document at home and prints it out and writes their name on there, is that good enough?
Generally, trust certifications are what is registered with the state. That's all documents that are notarized and signed. That's a very formal process. So it would have to have some sort of signature and formalization to it.
Are there situations where there are multiple trustees? And so
There are, I
Could
just
be
came
multiple
across one the other day that has multiple trustees and only two of the trustees were listed. And there's a reference that there are other trustees. And they really are not, I mean, I usually can read a document decently. They really are not all very clear on who can or can't sign. And then the corporations are specific to each state. And like managers versus members of the corporation sometimes have different roles based on what state the corporation is formed in.
And Roger, Sergio, Teresa, any comments, questions?
I had
Teresa,
one question. What process do you use to verify that the trust certifications are registered with the state, that they're registered properly?
That goes into due diligence. So I mean, if that's something that the board would want legal counsel to do due diligence on, to check the status of those entities, that is that process. Typically if it's been notarized and signed, it's a binding document. The Office of the Engineer does have authority to decline an application though, if it's insufficient. So there is that backstop as well, if there's something that they need more information on.
My question is more of responsibility and burden. Should burden and responsibility be more on the applicant than the staff, than the board, than the water board? And if so, then can we simplify that process that way? I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yeah, the entire burden should be on the applicant. The information that they're providing and submitting to the office of the engineer. I mean, what they're submitting needs to be truthful and honest and representative to what they're applying for. And in terms of being authorized to sign something, that would actually go into what their responsibilities are as trustees of the trust, and that's not any authority of the office of the engineer to manage.
I get that. How do we protect ourselves then in this situation? It seems like there should be maybe some kind of a simple affidavit or something that they have to sign that we offer them, says once they sign that, we're going to go with what they provide. And that way we're not, held liable if they're not honest or truthful or accurate. I'm just, again, thinking out loud here. Is that what you're thinking, Ethan?
Yeah, something like that where we can have a little certainty on what format's needed. There's unclear language in the trust. That, I mean, I don't have a problem if we can open the trust documents and see so-and-so is the executor of the trust. I can move on from there, especially if there are documents that have been registered.
But if it's not clear, if we have,
that's not a problem for me, right?
but if it's not clear, if we have an affidavit or something, say that if you sign off on this, we're good to go.
That would be what I'm looking for, some way to not have to figure out the ones that are too complicated for me to figure out.
Yeah. So Ken,
So I think this is a two-pronged approach. Number one, I think we should be helping the applicants know what they need to provide the engineer. Number two, you're kind of catch-all, you declare that everything you gave us was legal and accurate, so on.
but not our responsibility to do the work for them.
No,
Just
that's all.
just giving them the information, what's required.
Yeah, what I think it might be difficult to say what's required, the two reasons. You just mentioned different state,
Yes, no, required by us.
Yeah.
Progress. Roger. Roger.
I'm good with that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. And Haley, yes.
Yeah, I would just like to say that is what I was getting at was, if you already have this FAQ system that's set up in the office of the engineer. That's something that you could easily put in the FAQ section for these specific entities. This is what's required, and that's just through the office of what's required. You also, on all of the forms, have a declaration on the forms that does say penalty of perjury. So what they are signing into and what they're providing, there is a penalty of perjury with that when they do sign the declaration statement.
Ethan, is there anything more you need from us on this today? You have enough to work with for now?
I think I have enough to work with. I may engage Haley a little bit more
Okay.
on writing this extra FAQ piece about trusts and corporations so that, well, it's not just me.
Okay, is that adequate direction then? You guys good? You good, Ethan?
Yes, thank you for your attention to this matter.
All right, number 14, water engineer report, you're up again.
All right, we'll start off with applications process. You have a handout that looks a little like this. And this is, in the past, board members would like to see where we're at on new applications. And in this case, the monthly change since the last go round was 24 new applications, part A, 5 part Bs, got a stock water, and it's like we processed the 180-day application registration.
Very good. Have a form. Any questions on that for anybody?
Not the work we've done.
Thank you.
The turnaround's been pretty quick. I'm just gonna say, what's our average turnaround roughly through those hard days? Week.
Nice,
Okay,
Good job.
so we're doing.
nice. Wait.
Very good.
That's right.
All right.
All right, let's see, ops updates. There's major headway on the website. We have a load of internal changes that we requested the website designer to do, and we think that after that, it'll be prime time for your viewing. And we'll be excited to see what you think. We're also nearing our onboard status with IT services. I don't totally know what all that means, but I do expect that you're gonna start to see some mandatory updates in the near future that'll bring in some software that'll help us manage the computer fleet. And so you'll see some stuff from me about, hey, leave your computer on tonight or drop it off here and we can handle it for you, one of the two. I would also mention, because two of you have been generous enough to loan us your board purchased and dedicated laptops. We do have replacements for those, and so if Teresa or Georgia, you have a change of heart about your board purchase, we'll keep using them, or we'll give them to you. So please know that we do have some replacements that were purchased and are in place now. Yes, sir.
So if there is a need for another one, I find that I'm seldom using my board.
Okay. Understood. And feel free to bring that in and you can store it in this office if you'd like. And that's helpful to know. So thank you. Our technology is intended to work on across platforms where you sign on through the internet. And the hope there is that you can also learn to save your important board documents right to your OneDrive. And therefore, you don't ever need to worry about backing them up. Even if you forget how to log on, I can always retrieve your stuff for you. There's a lot of advantage. Perhaps once we're finalized with our onboarding process, I was intending to offer to you board members if you would like to have a little training on OneDrive or something like that from our IT folks. Up to you. You should also be able to look on there and see my schedule, see the staff schedules in the calendar features. I do try my hardest to keep my schedule up to date. So if you're wondering where I'm at, that's a way to do it. I haven't noticed many of the board members using their calendars, and I understand that kind of not as pertinent to you as it is to the office staff, but that is certainly available to you if you want to ever block out, like I'm going to Hawaii for 2 weeks. You could do that on your FRWMB.gov calendar, and we'd all be able to see.
Well, we can go to Hawaii. You guys ready to block
Yes.
that out?
I wrote that into resolution number 4, which is our next.
Next meeting.
I guess we'll have to learn how to use the calendar.
I think we should look at that calendar.
They have water issues over there, but that was a conference. Our staff continues to train up and learn new, we're all learning and training together on how things are going to work, and our policies and procedures documentation is going along just quite nicely. I do have one other new item for office updates that I'm going to propose. I know at least one of you board members has been okay with it, but I would like to find time to schedule individual board members to come into this office for like half a day when we're all working and plug you in to the water rights work that we're doing so that you can have a feel for what's going on at your office. Just a half a day. And that way you can see firsthand magic.
Super, good idea, thank you.
Okay. Up next for your consideration is that we do need to make a decision about associated employers, service and contracts. I have from them a request to re-up our annual use. Papers on how much. Sorry, here. So they charge us $650 annually to be a participation, and then we have paid other services to them. And this is a list of the charges for other services, and so you can see that we end up the hourly costs and so forth. Are in addition to the general fee, things that associated employers have generally helped with to date. Some of you are even more familiar than I am, but they've done work on the first iteration of the personnel policies. They did help for some hiring, outreach, and a few of the job descriptions and some rankings. They have been the ones who ushered our background checks through. And I didn't make a copy of the document that you've got there, but maybe there's something else on there that I haven't mentioned.
So it says board action on approval, and you mean or termination,
Yep,
right?
that's the decision here.
It says of terminate, but it's or termination of the contract.
That's a typo in there.
So, do you have a recommendation?
Our recommendation is that we don't think that we need to proceed with any employers.
So what about hiring processes? And what about background checks?
I think we can do that. We can source out the background checks separately. The rankings, I ended up, we did have some missteps on a few of our outreaches where one of the positions was listed as remote entirely, which caused a lot of applications to come in that were not viable. Some other issues like that. And at the end of the day, it was local resources and local outreach that found the employees we have hired.
Okay, board
So-
members, you have a recommendation, comment, yes, Roger.
So are they kind of a general human resources firm that they help us with our personnel policy and whatnot?
That is a service that they do provide.
I guess I was wondering, this health insurance is a big issue. You have a lot on your plate, you farm this out. to somebody.
We did explore health insurance options with Greg Wilson out of AE, and we did not get presented with anything that we wanted to explore.
Good idea.
But it's a great idea. We were
That's a
hoping that
great
that was going to
idea.
pan out. Also, they did provide some useful comments on some of the initial personnel policies, but they missed a few other things like FRWMB compliance and, so I've missed some things too.
Was there response on health insurance?
Christie, you mind speaking with, going your way back machine?
It's been a while, but, Greg Wilson, one of the issues was the limitation to the providers we could, go to and the clinics and what would be, paid for by percentage by it being a preferred provider. And it wasn't local areas, it was mainly like the buildings area.
That is where they are headquartered, excuse me.
So you said it cost $650, but then there's all this cost. So what's the $650?
The $650 is what allows you to pay them and have.
It's a retainer.
What's that?
It's like a retainer
Yeah, well.
or membership.
There's the initial membership, then there's hourly service expenses.
Okay, so if we paid the $650 and then never used them, that costs us a total of $650 for the year.
That's true.
Okay, so is there any benefit to going ahead with the $650 one more time? Just in case you need them, or are they accessible, whether we pay the $650 or not?
Melissa Schlichting has her hand up.
Oh, Melissa, you got your hand up. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Well, I just wanted to say the $650 a year membership fee includes 5 hours of time by associated employers. So you get 5 hours, however you want to allocate them, either on personnel policies or doing background checks or doing whatever. They will do 5 hours of work essentially for the $650. So it's not just a fee. You do
Okay.
get hours with it.
But 5 hours to use with that. Okay, Teresa. Thank you, Melissa.
Just to, if the $650 is like our membership fee, they do have some nice webinars on human resources and employment law and supervisory training and ethics. So if you're a member, then you pay like $90 for one employee to sign on to it, and the next employee that signs on, I think, pays $5. So it's a pretty cost-effective way to have webinar-based training. The other question, back to was his name Greg that gave us input? Did we frame the question for him? I mean, did we say we want health-related analysis that works in Western Montana for the area between Kalispell and Missoula? If we didn't frame what we asked him to do, we might have got his standard Billings response. But maybe if we framed it different, maybe the $650 and the 5 hours would be beneficial, because I think Roger's onto something there, about getting somebody with some expertise to look at this. So maybe if we approached him differently, maybe we get a different result.
He knows where the office is located. Yeah. And we harped on him hard about making sure people knew that they had to be at the physical location. So, I mean, if he was to have overlooked that,
Okay,
I mean, that's effective
right.
right from the get-go.
I wonder if there's any other expert we could employ in the area to do what you're suggesting. I think that would be worth the time and the money.
I don't know, but
I think we should.
I think that's a good idea to do that.
So question on this, if we decide not to do it today, if we decide, well, we want to revisit that, we can do it later. I mean, this isn't
As far as I know, I mean.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but there's not a day that goes by where I'm like, oh, hop on oftentimes it's, anyway, it just.
Yeah, but
It hasn't served my particular needs currently.
But the contract itself then, as we take action today, is turned up, or where are we at with it?
We got a bill. We either need to pay it by. Yes, June through. You have to pay this bill in May, and it'd be June through May.
Christie.
Okay, Chrissy?
I just wanted to say that Adele Vincent, who used to do the benefits for S&P Technologies, runs the business in town, and have offered to come in and provide training, which was canceled last minute this week. And she has some options that she's willing to bring in and do some questions and answers with the staff.
We do intend to follow through with that, and I've also identified at least one company who to check in with and see if they can help us find something on the open health
Mark,
benefits exchange or whatever. And I also signed up to healthcare.gov to try to navigate that system and see what our options are there. So I'm looking at 3 different ones. Intel is definitely on the list. The only reason that we canceled last minute is I want to have all the employees here for the discussion.
yeah,
One of us wasn't here, so.
Okay, George, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I guess my general comment is if I'm capturing the information correctly, Associated Employers has contributed as much of a service to us as they can at this point. It doesn't sound to me as if any additional hours are going to be of any great benefit to us because you'd rather use a local source, both for employee, if you had to hire for another employee or to get advice on medical insurance. So I don't see a need to continue.
Roger?
Yeah, I guess we don't need them anymore.
And we could always go back and revisit that if we need to. I think 650 would buy us 5 hours if we don't do anything else. So, Ken?
I'm good with that.
Okay, so we probably need to take action then on public comment. Is that correct? Are we on to that? Yeah,
If you would like to leave public comment online, raise your hand. I'll make it possible for you to speak. No public comment.
seeing none, hearing none online, so no more public comment. Need a motion, take action, terminate that contract.
I move we terminate associated employers contract.
Motion by Ken. Second by George. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Maybe we could send them just a nice little letter saying, thank you for your services. If we need you, we'll be in touch.
I will definitely take that action.
It'd be good. All right.
And I'll copy the chairman as the letter for re-upping was actually written here.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, board members, the next item on your agenda, 1424. I seek your permission to extend / modify contract with Anna Butterfield. As you know, Anna is moving along into her law degree. Talking with her, I think there's a lot of opportunity over the summer and during evening hours for some remote work, and her services on key complicated water right issues has been highly valued by me and my staff. So what I've got here is a proposal to change her hourly rate, change her into a temporary as needed 2-year contract. It doesn't need to go to term. It doesn't need to use all of the potential. I have an NTE of 30,000 in here. It doesn't well be written in a way that we're going to use all 30,000. It's a, you know, I need to come back with my hat in my hand if we wanted to exceed that value or some other value as specified by the board. This is a multi-year. This is proposed as multi-year, so I can't do this contract on my own. I'd rather, if it finds the board's approval, not have to revisit it every year.
So rating not to exceed 30,000, 2 years, temporary as needed, no benefits, $30 an hour plus mileage.
And mileage would be at the approval of the water engineer. I don't actually see us having quite as much mileage as we have in the past. But, yeah.
Okay. Board comments, questions? Roger.
I was just curious, Hannah, How much time do you have available?
So my position for the summer is a full-time position. I'm expecting to have like weekend time available as well as like evening hours. I know our office has a lot of work going on, but I'm also available to get text all the time, so I can contribute, answer questions, do that. And hopefully I can guys not contribute to this project.
So as I recall, you were at NRC too, you were pretty minimally involved with the database development, right?
Yeah, it was the
Well, we could
compliance
still-
that helped build a lot of the systems for updates.
We had that
66 of
Yeah.
options for.
My logic
You wanna
is,
raise it?
you see right
Or
through
we
it.
can do that.
Yeah.
It's always good to see. I make a motion to, there's no further comment
Any other comments or questions?
to approve.
Second.
You gotta have a public comment, I know it's.
So we have a motion and second. We'll do public comment. Any public comments?
If you'd like to make a public comment, raise your hand on Zoom and I can make it possible for you to speak. I see no public comment.
For public comment, we have a motion and a second to approve as recommended. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed, it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your work. So one quick second.
Yes. Yes.
At the end, I'll ask. All right. 14.5.
Mr. Chairman, board members, let's talk a minute about air conditioning. It's upon us. I was hoping to have window quotes for you, in addition to this, because that is a factor upstairs especially. We'll look at that also, but we do need to do something about, the air conditioning in this building. And I want to get some ability to move forward. I have, we did try to solicit 3 bids. As far as I know, we only got the 2. I'm just double checking with Christie. They are very different in their scope, and one of them seems almost too low to be believable, but we'll investigate that some more. What I'm hoping that the board might do is consider 2 items. One, to let us have a not to exceed amount that would meet the more expensive proposal. And 2, to let at least me and Clayton try to negotiate the option to extend our lease here if we put this air conditioner in and pay for it, so that we don't end up getting boot in 3 years after having made a major upgrade in air conditioning and not having somewhere else to land. My general gist is that I'd like to see opportunity to extend at each year end for a new year, or at least 3 more years in addition to our existing lease, or something equivalent to what our 3rd year lease monthly rent rate is at. Do have plans to talk to the landlord whether or not this will be one of the topics. She's coming to town. Whether or not this will be one of the topics will be up to you board members today.
So taking a step at a time regarding AC, recall, I have connection to both, so I'll turn this over to Roger and the rest of the board to move this through and discuss as you see fit.
Okay, thanks, Clint. So are there any comments regarding these two quotes we got? The vendors?
So I have a question on the Big Sky Heating. It says tribal ID number. Does that mean it's tribally owned?
Yes,
Yes, okay.
it's either tribally owned or tribally registered, potentially with the Indian Preference Office. Question,
Yes, ma'am.
is so the sequence would be that we evaluate whether or not we would be successful at extending the lease before we would make a substantial investment in the building. Is that the way you hope to manage that?
That is the way that I have to manage
Okay.
that.
Okay, great.
And additionally, on things that I'm gonna do between now and installation funding and installation would be, you know, I have intention to talk to more references about these two quotes that I have here. And as you know, the timing, availability and reliability things is always an important aspect. We have, you know, this is not our building, so we have pretty tight responsibility, and whatever I do, I really want to make sure that we're operating in a way that doesn't risk our relationship with oil or liability, whatever.
Clearly, something needs to be done. It's just way too warm in here.
Go upstairs.
Wait, I'm finally warm enough.
Yes, you're finally over there.
Yes, something needs to occur.
The question for
So-
Clayton, do you feel comfortable doing this negotiating with the landlord?
Well, if we get past the AC stuff, I mean, I'm comfortable helping to do that. I've talked to her about the expenses and she's hit her limit. She said she can't help anymore. So we're on our own in terms of cost, but the question of whether or not we can extend the lease is something that I have not talked to them about, but would be willing to join Ethan in a conversation with her about that.
She is interested in fixing some things that we need addressed on her dime also, so we're getting a little help from her on some other things.
But as far as the AC goes, yeah, she wasn't gonna help with that,
No.
yeah. So, yeah, if you wanna, let's take that step first, we'd like to, but that's.
And just in case you want to know the details, one of these envisions like a new heater plus a rooftop AC mounted pad and AC, and then use the centralized air system. The other one uses a mini split arrangement, which is actually what the brewery did. They put mini splits in for AC, and then the mini splits, the ones that are spec'd out here, can provide supplemental heat, but we retain the same heater, which seemed to do fine enough, I thought. So, yeah, you guys warm it up?
Yeah. Another question for you.
Yep.
So we blew up our heater, our house, literally, and we're gonna replace it and put in a heat pump. And we absolutely love it. That's the thing either one of these proposing.
That's the mini split.
Sometimes they refer to a heat pump as a mini split. There used to be a formal heat pump that circulates water or coolant through the ground and then brings it back in as a heat exchange unit. But usually nowadays, the mini split is the heat pump, unless you have a more elaborate.
Northwest one here.
I mean, I'll just talk to the technology. So there is a ground source heat pump.
Yeah.
There's the mini splits, which has a unit that does not require a great deal, but they mount those. Then there is an air source heat pump. So the air source heat pump is separate yet, and you could do that, but if they're talking mini splits, that's just a difference in technology.
So I think there's no doubt there's a need for this. I've been concerned about that the day we moved in. So just being upstairs when we looked at it. I guess to me though, this seems to be a landlord improvement rather than a tenant improvement. So, is they're gonna ultimately benefit Iona. So. I guess when you speak with the landlord, I would. Maybe talk to her about applying some of these costs to our rent rate.
Well, Mr. Vice Chair, I think you should join the conversation. Okay,
That might be helpful. The other thing is, depending on the rules, personally, we were able to install air source heat pump in our private residence and got at the time, a fairly significant tax break. So that might be something, if that's available to someone, would be available to her as well.
Yeah, I wonder if Mission Valley Power.
As a conservation incentive.
It's a good point. I know when I put one in the building, I had it. We got a tax break on the purchase of it.
Oh, nice.
Well, I guess, do we need a motion then to move forward with pursuing this, or just have Ethan pursue the negotiations and come back with the final selection?
my encouragement, board is to allow up to the worst case scenario, which is like we own the whole expense from the Northwest plumbing if necessary. Cause I don't think she's gonna budge on that. We're paying around a little over $2,000 a month for fairly substantial commercial property. I don't think she's gonna budge.
So I guess, Roger's question, do we need a motion or do we just say go for it?
Mr. Chairman, board members, this exceeds my $3,000 limit, so I need somebody to do something.
So we need a motion.
Yeah, I would like to have a motion to at least, understanding that I will try to do the cheapers of the solutions, but I would like to be able to go out and make decisions based on a high end option. I will not, I can commit to not installing this without an option to extend the lease. That would be firm, in my opinion.
That's good.
All right, so do we have a motion to go ahead? And this, do we want to put a number on it?
I think I would like to limit it at this point in time to like to even negotiating the lease. That'll give us some idea of what we have to work with. That's, I thought I can say it's a motion.
So then is your motion to table the approval of the improvement
Yes.
and the results of the negotiation?
Yes. That's exactly what I said. So you have a motion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to table this motion pending the results of negotiations between Clayton and Ethan with the landlord on extending the lease and also exploring the options of the range of costs between these two.
Yes.
And it's the second place. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
And just let the record show I abstain from that.
All right, back to number.
Yeah.
15, public comment.
So we're to the end. Public comments, any final public comments? Anybody here or online?
If you'd like to leave a public comment online, raise your hand and I can make it possible for you to speak. You don't have a comment.
Seeing none, hearing none, public comment is closed. Next step says meeting June 8th, but we have another one before then, correct?
Yes, but let's do, explore this June 8th. It's getting out on the books. That is your second Thursday of the month, regular board meeting.
Are we good with June 8th?
Approaching SKC's graduation date. So there, so I just am checking SKC's calendar really quick. Oh, I'm good.
You're good, Candace? Teresa? I'm good. Roger?
Yeah, good on that.
Okay, so the 8th is good. Ethan? So it's the
All right.
next regular meeting.
Regular meeting. And wouldn't be surprised if I made you hold an emergency meeting to buy an air conditioner to get it figured out.
And irregular meeting.
Yep, emergency irregular meeting.
Irregular. That's like
Regular emergency meeting.
mostly not needed.
Mostly not needed. Kind of meeting. And if we did do that, irregular meeting, I will explore, like, just for something super specific that needs to happen, like this AC thing. I'm probably gonna drag y'all into Zoom so that you can, you know, take action on pressing things like, so we need to lock up our contractor and, you know, we're not the only ones who are hot.
Yeah. The next work session though then is
The 18th,
8, so we're looking at May 18th.
and that's gonna be at least a hybrid session. I'm gonna set it up so that you could take some actions. Right? I believe that's what you told me to do?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Thank you.
Work
I
session,
will,
work session with option to take action.
My usual health board for Thursday.
Is if, do we need to consider a different date, 17th or 19th? I'd like to make sure everybody's available for a
I
work
am not
session like that.
available on the 19th.
If I did,
If we meet on the 17th, you will have given me your comments on the 16th.
17th, I'm not available.
okay. Need to move this around too much. What if you went to the 22nd? That's a Monday.
Mondays and Wednesdays are bad for me.
Liz, really bad. Okay,
I'm
okay,
teaching.
all right, so,
Is everybody available on the 19th?
I am in the afternoon.
Teresa?
I can do it tomorrow night.
Gordon?
I teach until 2.
Okay. So what if we did 3 and
Can we meet late on the 18th?
Late on the 18th,
Yeah, what time, who had it, Roger? you had
Roger
conflict?
has a
When can you be
conflict.
here?
I wouldn't be here till 4:30.
could we zoom you in?
Can we meet with less people?
Clearly, we can. It's a work session with the option of taking some action as long as we've got quorum. Roger, I would leave it to you to decide if you want to participate or not. That's,
Okay.
want to participate, then we need to work it out.
We can double check on this on the 20, I'm sorry, could everybody make the 22nd?
No, no,
Okay, that's what I thought I heard. I just also.
yeah,
I got a little messed up in my head. All right,
So are we late 18th or are we on to the 19th? Roger,
I can get the announcement, but other people there.
I can't be done too.
so if we did the 19th, it'd be after 2.
so you want to do a 3 to 7 meeting?
no. Sorry.
Say stuff like that.
I'm kidding.
On a Friday
No, wait, oh, only if we go next door for refreshments.
on break.
There's another good reason not to do it late on Friday.
That's right, not a good idea.
Yeah,
I'm okay with late on a Friday, it's what, or late on Thursday.
Roger, what's the best you can do on Thursday?
Well, I can start by finding out if I'm the vice chairman, the chairman's gonna be there and I'll find out what's on the agenda. If I can swing it, I'll make it. Guess that's where I would start.
And then if we started,
I mean, if I don't have to go to that meeting, I could be here at one. But otherwise, I probably.
Absolutely.
I don't even know what's on the agenda yet. They've been running short. They've been running.
all right, are you okay with us moving forward with this discussion on the 18th? Okay, 18th.
thank you, Mr. Chair, board members, and I'm gonna plan to set the room up with the projector and a screen right here so that if you board members do wanna specifically edit the personnel policies, you can do it then. Does that sound like a good way to do things?
Yeah, and it looks like based on previous discussion that we want to focus on those priorities starting. Just start picking off those priority items, so whatever you and staff come to terms with in terms of one.
Sure thing, and
1, 2, 3, we'll go from there.
as a reminder, I will distribute the updated document by early tomorrow morning, if not this evening, and encourage the other three of you to chime in on that if you would. So like,
So we're still at 1. When the clock starts.
So still at 1 o'clock on Thursday?
1-5.
Okay.
Yeah.
18th.
18th. All right.
5 on the 18th.
Well, I'm down to number 17, says end meeting, so. I guess we can do a motion to adjourn. Motion,
Second.
second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we're done. Thank you. Thanks, Ethan. Thanks.